President has said that many countries will simply get letters telling them what their rate is.
And we're now joined by Ross Feingold, political analyst who is in Taipei, Taiwan. Ross, thank you so much for joining us once again here on A News.
Thank you.
Well, we have been talking about the trade deals and let's start with that, how might the new US-Japan mega trade deal shape Japan's political direction following the recent election results, in your opinion?
It's certainly good timing for the Prime Minister of Japan because his party performed so poorly in the recent upper house election. I guess it's unfortunate for him that he didn't have this news before the election that he could use to sell to the voters voting for his party. But clearly the reaction today, Asia time, after this announcement was made overnight for us here in Asia, was extremely positive. So it looks like Japan, broadly speaking, including industry, the auto industry, the agricultural industry, they look at the deal as generally a positive outcome for Japan, especially keeping in mind that the outcome could have been much, much worse for Japan had they faced significantly higher tariffs than what now appears to be the agreement.
Well, in what ways do you think that this landmark trade agreement position Japan as a pivotal player in the new global supply chains, in your opinion?
Well, certainly Japan, like many other close trading partners of the United States, is under pressure from the U.S. to reduce reliance on manufacturing in China. And at the same time, the United States is not really saying move from China to other countries in Southeast Asia like Vietnam or Malaysia. What the United States wants is countries to move manufacturing into the United States. And we see that reflected in the announcement, this extraordinary number that Japan will invest $550 billion US in the United States. Certainly part of that is going to be manufacturing. We don't really have much details at the moment of what that $550 billion investment actually includes. But again, it will include for certain a fair amount of investment in manufacturing capacity in the United States. And to be fair, excuse me, to be fair to President Trump, that's a big win for his administration.
Well, to what extent does this deal represent a shift from the protectionism to economic coalition and building in the Asia-Pacific? And do you think that Trump's statements are right? Did he really make one of the biggest trade deals of all the time, or is it more of his campaigning process right now?
Assuming that this $550 billion investment component of the agreement is real, then President Trump probably is right. This is one of the largest trade deals ever made. Now, the difference between this bilateral agreement between the United States and Japan and what we see very often, mostly within Asia, is that countries within Asia, their direction tends to be free trade and removing trade barriers, eliminating tariffs in a bilateral or multilateral way. And we have regional trade agreements like the RCEP and the CPTPP that various countries in the region are members of, and others are trying to join. But the agreement with the United States it's not a free trade agreement. None of these agreements that the United States has announced in recent days, whether with Vietnam or Indonesia, the Philippines, and now Japan, none of these are free trade agreements. So the parameters that the United States is seeking from its trading partners are certainly very different than what we often see here within Asia.
Well, lastly, what would you say about the future of these deals? Because we know that, as you mentioned, given the fact that this is real, this is one of the biggest trade deals in the history. And do you think that it is going to be able to shape the world of economy? Do you foresee any change in the inflation rates and the relationship between the West and the Far East right now?
Certainly, there are a number of other countries, or in the case of Europe, the EU, who have yet to reach a deal with the United States. Here in this part of the world, significant trading partners that have yet to reach a deal are South Korea and Taiwan, where I'm speaking from. And they both run significant trade surpluses with the United States. And the Japan model, even if the size of the Japan agreement is much larger than South Korea or Taiwan could commit to, but that model of getting countries to buy more from the United States, lower their tariffs on U.S. goods, and to invest in the United States, we're probably going to see that model used for South Korea and Taiwan, potentially in some form with the European Union as well. So the outcome of the Japan agreement, and again, the other ones announced in recent days, such as Indonesia, is that it is a template for other significant trading partners of the United States. And that's what the Trump administration wants. There's not going to be much variance from that kind of model.
Well, what would you say about the other countries' approach, actually? We know that Donald Trump has a trade war, has been going on a trade war with anyone who opposes him. And we know that with the West having a shift in the policies right now and the Ukraine war is still continuing, Trump administration is actually looking for another ways to improve the economy, and probably making a trade deal with Japan is one of them. So what would you say about this shift? Do you think that the West is going to take it up well, or are they going to try to upper their end so that they can have a better relationship with the United States?
Well, one thing is clear. If countries want to have a better relationship with the Trump administration, they're going to have to make significant concessions on trade. That might include lowering their tariffs or even eliminating tariffs on American products entering their country, removing non-tariff barriers, and addressing market access concerns that the United States has complained about for many, many years in some cases. So really, it's that Trump, in his conduct of foreign policy, he prioritizes the United States trade relationship with most countries. In almost all cases, it is the #1 issue that President Trump is looking at in his conduct of relations with other countries.
Well, Ross, thank you so much for your answers, and thank you so much for joining us here on A News.
Thank you.
Well, with that, we are going to conclude the world news for this hour, and we continue with World of Economy and Sports, and I will see you next hour.
Ziraat Bank is with you all around the world.